It's the Jack and Nick Horror Show.
Nick?
Hi.
Hi.
Jack, I hope?
Yes.
Okay. It's
Yes.
been so long since I talked to you that I assumed that... I just assumed that this is still your voice. You could be like a robot impersonating you or somebody else. I don't even know.
We did that before.
No, we did?
Yeah.
We did. That was a theme. But, yeah, hey, everybody.
Hey, hello.
Remember when we promised to have 2 episodes out by the end of last year?
We lied.
Here's the second one. For this year, we promised to have 2 episodes out by the end of the year 2017.
This is the first one.
Yes.
And this one is the our year ender a month late.
For last year, a month late. Hooray!
So
yeah.
you think maybe we'll get a 2018 by it's not even. Anyway, we're gonna give you.
We should just start recording that, just guessing.
Yeah.
Record it, and then in 2 years, check back and be like, yeah, use that one. We ain't got the time. If you ever get your shit together at your job and everything turns out good for me, I want to get back into doing this bi-weekly or weekly or as much as possible. But it's still life is life. So thanks for sticking with us if you still actually are people. We appreciate it.
I mean, we're still doing it. Don't think we're walking away from it. Even though horror podcasts have kind of become like a... What's the word I'm looking for, Nick?
I don't know. Everybody does it. Very passé, perhaps, is what... Because, everybody and their mother has a podcast, right? We just happen to talk about horror movies.
Check out my podcast. You can't even go into a... it's not even a forum anymore, but you can't go into any horror page without people trying to plug their shit.
Right.
Say, oh, look, I reviewed this movie.
Right.
Who gives a fuck?
and misspellings all over the place. That's us. That's us, the podcast. So anyway, what are we talking about tonight? What are we other than other people?
We're doing Rankum 2016, and we're including some of our listener picks in that Rankum. And,
right.
And then we're just gonna talk about the year and next year and
right.
things that we might have seen, and talk about if we have gotten any taller or shorter or anything, that kind of stuff.
Right. And just so people know, we do for the end of the year we pick our top 5 and our bottom 1, and we asked a bunch of our listeners what were your top and bottom movies of the year. So we're going to go over a whole list and tell you what we thought of everything.
And I wanted to ask who of the listeners were a top or a bottom, but Nick didn't think that would work for this show. So
yeah, really.
Yeah.
Serious?
We'll do that on the other one, on the bi-weekly show. Thank you.
When that works out.
Yeah.
So kids.
It's my attempt at humor. It was really bad. I don't care. I really don't care.
Yeah.
I'm just getting started. Listening. I'm just drinking coffee.
Right. This is how it goes on this show. So welcome.
Welcome. If you're new, go elsewhere. All right. Here we go. Rank 'em.
Why does anyone listen to us?
Why does anybody listen to us? I don't know, Nick. Why do people like us and say, well, some people, not everybody, but other people are tricked by believing about, people that play victim. But, there are people out there that like us, and we like you as well. We actually think that our closest fans have extremely good taste in horror films and film in general, and a good attitude. That was not written. I didn't write that. I just said that. It sounded like I wrote it down.
Right. I thought you made that all up.
No, I wasn't being snarky either. I'm actually I'm being serious. I really like the people like Sean and Tor and Casey, Mick Boss,
right.
The Y2 Stump. I like all these people. They're good.
Stumpy.
They're good people. And I hope to hear more from them, actually. So, anyway, we're going to do rank 'em now. Nick, you're going to go first. And listeners, what we're going to do is we are going to go Nick's 5, then my 5, and so on, all the way down to 1. And then we're going to give you our worst, and then we're going to hear about your best and worst. We figured since we are the ladies of the podcast, we would go first. So, therefore, Nick, what is your number 5 of 2016? That was the year before, this year.
Yes, number 5 of 2016. We got number 5. Number 5. All right, Don't Breathe. That's the movie, not an instruction for the listeners. But seriously, Don't Breathe was pretty good. It was the movie out in theaters earlier this year that you probably saw or heard us talk about. I say you probably saw it because it did quite well. And you probably at least heard about it even outside of this podcast because, I just enjoyed it. It was the home invasion movie where the people are invading a home of a blind man, and the blind man turns the tables on them, and he starts, beating them around the house.
Blindly.
Quite. And it was enjoyable, like all around, pretty unpredictable. Had some parts in it that I don't think anyone could have predicted would ever happen in a movie like that. Boozling, guzzling. You know what I'm talking about. If you saw that movie, you know.
I'm not, I can't really talk about Don't Breathe yet because it may or may not be on my top 5 list.
Right.
But I really enjoyed that movie too.
Right. And, I would, when I first saw the trailer for that movie, I didn't expect it to be like a best of the year movie at all. But it actually climbed to the top on my personal enjoyment list. So that's pretty cool. I'm always happy when I'm pleasantly surprised. If I can always be surprised and be wrong about actually liking something I thought I wasn't going to like, that's cool.
And before I give my number 5, I want to let everybody know I did not see a lot of newer horror movies in 2016.
Yeah, you know what? That's for me too is completely true. And you know why? Because we weren't podcasting about it every single day of the week. Like in previous years, we were averaging between 80 and 100 movies a year for our podcasts. And now we did just for this show, I think we did only 10 movies this year, or maybe less. Right. So 10 movies plus whatever else you saw. I saw maybe 15 to 20 horror movies, which is nice for a change. And normally I see more every year. This is just the least horror filled year of my life. And there's just numerous reasons for that. Part of it, honestly, is that Netflix has crappier horror movies on it these days than it used to. And I say crappier, but I actually mean just less selection. Not necessarily that they're all bad movies, but if you look, there's articles out there about how Netflix went from, 5 years ago, they had 15,000 movies on Netflix, and now they only have 5,000 movies on Netflix. Mm-hmm. Netflix has done a lot of trimming the movies that basically no one in quotes was watching, except guess who was watching those movies? Me. Because when I would see that Zombie Ass was up on Netflix, I'm gonna watch that. I would sit around and when I'd want something on while I was cleaning the house, I'd put on The Crow 4, I watched all the garbage on Netflix, and they kind of trimmed away a lot of the garbage so that they didn't have to pay the rights for it. And they used to have Troma on there, and there was so much Troma. I don't think there's much on there outside of Poltergeist, if anything, on there now. And there used to just be a lot of crappy, silly stuff, and I would just sit there and absorb it and consume it. And now it's all that middle of the road ghost movie stuff that I just don't care to waste my time on. So if anybody ever has Netflix recommendations for me, hit me up on Twitter at New Jersey Nick and let me know so that I can then go watch it. Thank you. Jack, what was your number 5? I'm sorry, I kind of usurped that from you.
That's okay.
But yeah. It's definitely something that has happened to me this year where I know I have not watched as many horror movies as I probably should have.
Right. And also keep in mind, these are just my 5 personal favorites. These are movies that I either really enjoyed or something I'd watch again and again.
Right.
That doesn't necessarily... I would say all 5 of these movies are all top number 1s of their ilk. But... the thing's called rank 'em, so I had to rank 'em. But my number 5, Bullshit Artists.
Really? The Greasy
The
Strangler.
Greasy Strangler is my number 5. I mean, we talked about that. I think it was our last episode. we
briefly mentioned it.
Yeah. It's something that is I don't recommend to everybody because it's way out there, and you're either in on it or you're out on it. And I was definitely in. I really enjoyed the hell out of the movie. It's a lot of fun. It's stupid, and yeah, it's just I couldn't stand it. People compare it to Napoleon Dynamite, and I couldn't stand Napoleon Dynamite.
Right.
And this one here just clicked with me. So it's a gross movie in body humor, I guess. But it's a lot of fun, and I really enjoyed it, and it's something I'm going to be watching a lot more. So you want to watch with more?
What's that?
4. What's your number 4, man?
No. I want to talk about Greasy Strangler because I also really enjoyed watching it. Okay, but my problem with it was just, dude, I can't. I on top of the fact that I can't recommend it, I never ever want to see it again, just because I'm like, I felt like throwing up watching it, and I really enjoyed it.
I think I'm going to watch it again tonight.
Yeah.
No, I'm not. No, but I will watch it again because of I think it does. It's one of those movies that kind of has like a Coen Brothers feel,
right?
Where the Coen Brothers movies, the older ones at least, when you first watch them, you enjoy them, and then when you watch them again, you enjoy them more, and then again, and you enjoy them more, and then you fall in love with them. Because they have and it's not like, I guess it is like a gimmick in a sense, the repetitive dialogue, where if it's like one word or something that's just repeated over and over, it becomes something and funny.
Right.
It's like the David Letterman theory that like the worst joke of his monologue is the one that he keeps repeating throughout the whole show and it becomes funny.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I like the movie too, where it has the bullshit artists. So it's like
Rudy Tooty.
Yeah, Rudy Tooty.
Oh my god.
Hootie Tooty, Disco Cutie.
Disco Cutie.
But like that's like you don't just have to say bullshit artist over and over again, and I'm like, oh okay, that's comedy gold. But it's just the fact that bullshit artist is not funny at all, but they think it's like the be all end all insult.
Right.
So
the
characters do, and they just keep on bullshit artist, like they're really into it. So
right,
it's kind of
the worst thing you could be is a bullshit artist.
Yeah. So anyway,
which is funny because they actually are, like, their profession is bullshit artists.
Right.
Like,
it's kind of what it is.
Oh my
it's
God.
kind of ironic. So it's
that fucking movie.
Yeah. All right, what's
and
your number?
I definitely enjoyed watching it, but anyway, number 4 for me, The Purge 3. And I know that might scare people, or The Purge election year. It might surprise people that I would put that on my top 5, but I think it was just a fun time I had at the movies. And how many times do you, as a horror fan, want to just like go and just see something fun that's not concerned about like how stupid it is, or, snarky self-referencing jokes or anything like that, or, trying too hard to be scary or anything. It's just a good, dumb action movie that also happens to kind of be light sci-fi and also horror,
Right.
And I mean, it just is exactly what it's supposed to be. You want to go and just see like chaotic nonsense and people trying to survive it. And that's exactly what it is. And the premise is like thin and sort of dumb. And then you go, okay, show me what you can do with it. And then they've made 3 movies of varying quality, but I've enjoyed the whole series for the most part. I'm actually looking – I hope that they make a Purge Part 4. We really need a good Purge 4 now, considering that everyone hates each other politically. And I think it could be a good thing to keep this series going. And then 4 will come out, and I'll be like, you should have stopped at 3. You should have stopped.
I will say that I think that the third one is the best one of the 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the first one, I mean, I understand why they didn't go Purge 2 route in the first one because of budgetary reasons. But it doesn't feel like what it could have been. Like, if they had multiple homes and what was happening at the homes intertwined for the first Purge, it would have worked better. But, yeah. Number 4. My 4.
Number 4 for Jack.
My number 4. This one is 10 Cloverfield Lane.
10 Cloverfield. God damn it! The one movie that I haven't seen yet from this past year that I really wanted to.
Yeah. It's the I'll if for anything, John Goodman alone gives the best performance. I'd say it ranks up there almost with Walter from Big Lebowski. Like, his performance is incredible in this movie, and it's a lot of fun. I enjoyed the heck out of the movie. The end of it is kind of I don't want to say hokey, but I do want to say hokey. But the whole first 3/4 of it is something that is kind of special in a way. It's really cool. But 10 Cloverfield Lane. I'm sure you've heard of it.
Right. You know, I actually was going to watch it the other day, but for some reason on Xbox Live, the 2 places I mostly see movies are either on Netflix or on demand through Xbox Live. And on Xbox Live, for some reason, you could only purchase the movie and not rent it. And the purchase price is something outrageous, like $13 or $14. And I was like, shit, I could probably buy a DVD of it at Walmart for like
$10, yep.
And I just haven't gotten to Walmart to check yet. So, wow. But we ended up watching another movie again, which I'll talk about in a couple of minutes. But it was, I still really want to see it. And Cloverfield 3 is supposedly already done and coming out next year. But I don't know. That's a rumor. That was a rumor on some horror news site spelled Newz. Speaking of horror news sites, not to break up the flow of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that we're doing here tonight, but whatever. I'm going to break up the flow of it. Horror news sites. How many of them for the past 3 years have said, like, January 2017, there's a Friday the 13th, and that's when the Friday the 13th movie is going to come out? How many times did you hear that?
I hear it every Friday the 13th.
Jack, did you see a new Friday the 13th movie on this Friday the 13th?
No, I saw an old one.
Well, you know what? Don't listen to horror news. Anyway, continue.
No, you're continuing. Your number 3 is next.
Wait, you didn't do your number 4, did you?
Yeah, 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Wait, I thought that was mine. Okay, hang on. You're right. Number 3. Number 3 is where we start to get into the predictable horror picks for me for the year 2016. Some people say that this movie came out in 2015, but it wasn't in wide release in America until 2016. And that's how I count where my movies are.
Yeah.
So in the first couple of weeks, about a year ago right now, I was probably in the theater watching The Witch. What a great time I had with that movie, eh?
Yeah.
It feels like it was 100 years ago, but
it really does. I actually questioned it myself. I'm like, did The Witch come out in 2016?
Great.
And then it just hit me, and it did. It came out February, actually.
February?
Yeah.
Oh, whatever. Hey, it was a great movie, and I still think you should watch it. If you somehow haven't and you're a horror fan, go watch it. You know what? You might not like it. Because if you're like, oh, my God, they talk so terribly, the dialogue is atrocious, you might not like it, but that's you. I think it's just fine.
There are horror fans out there that call that not a horror movie, and I just want to smack them.
Are you joking?
No, I'm not joking at all.
Oh, my God, dude. Really?
There are horror fans and other horror podcasters, and they are like, oh, no, that's not a horror movie. Like, what? did you like take a shit a lot during that movie or something? Because I sure as hell saw a baby getting chopped up and, and other things. Guess what my number 3 is? The Witch.
Oh, really? The Witch?
Yeah.
Oh, how did you feel about The Witch?
I really enjoyed it. I put it as number 3.
Me too.
See, and this is what I was saying about my top 5, because The Greasy Strangler is a totally different movie than the 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Yeah.
And so is The Witch. Like, they're all in their own genre, the number ones. So, yeah, I really enjoyed The Witch. I think it's a definitely a classic already. Like, it's going to be a classic in the future. It's going to be one of those movies that future generations are probably going to look back on, and they're going to make fun of the people that hated on it, because it is a really, really good movie. That's all I'm really going to say about it. I just enjoyed the hell out of it. So,
right. I mean, I don't know. I didn't see any quite the same type of backlash that you did, where people are saying that it's not a horror movie, though. But there's definitely, like I said, a lot of people who don't enjoy it because it's too slow for them or anything like that. I mean, it's not like, last year with Deathgasm, where it's like this fast-paced, crazy New Zealand horror movie, clearly inspired by other New Zealand products. But this was just sort of that slowly paced, but very rewarding horror movie, and I could totally get into that. And that's what's cool about, like, both you and me, is that we're both people who can enjoy either side of the spectrum. Like, I'll take a slowly paced movie so long as it has, like, a good payoff and good stuff going on throughout. But I'll also take the fast paced, blood everywhere, crazed zombie killing machine movies.
Right.
I love the whole genre in some respects.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I sometimes you feel like a nut and sometimes you don't. So how it works.
So, my number 2. We're already up to my number 2, and we're only like 20 minutes into this podcast, so this might be a short show. But my number 2 and my number 1 are like practically interchangeable. I enjoyed both of them a lot, but my number 2, just because I think I like the other one a little bit more, number 2 is Neon Demon. And I really love style over substance movies. I like movies that Nicholas Winding Refn has done before. This movie, of course, was if you've seen the trailer, you've pretty much seen the movie. It's just very stylized and gorgeously colored. A great movie to look at, and just a really fun experience that is totally an unconventional story that meanders and is told how it felt it should be told. Like, really weird stuff, really wonderful stuff. Not a whole lot of demons, just the Neon Demon. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's one of those that sticks with you after you leave. Where even if you hate it, you're going to be like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Right. I feel like I pick a movie like that every year in the top 5. One that's just like, this movie was completely weird. Or every year in my top 5, I should say. I pick a movie that I'm like, this movie was completely weird and didn't make a lot of sense, but I totally loved it. That's a Nick movie. That's how you know that my favorites are like the weird ones.
Well, Nick, my number 2 is The Green Room.
Ah.
Yeah. I really enjoyed The Green Room, or the Green Room. Green, yeah. It's a good standoff movie, mostly one location. One of Anton Yelchin's last movies. He's got another one coming out soon called, I think, Thoroughbred. It's just damn good. That's all I'm going to say about it. We talked about it on the show. If you want to listen to what we said about it, go ahead and go back.
Right.
But yeah, it's absolutely a great movie.
Right, and just to skip ahead to my drum roll. Number 1.
Drum roll.
Here it comes.
Okay.
Are you adding it in? No? Okay. I don't actually need a drum. Here it comes. Green Room is my number one movie of the year.
It's your number
and
one.
For a long time, it lingered as my number two beneath Neon Demon, but I just watched it again the other day, sometime in the past week, and I really still enjoyed it, even on the second viewing, where it's so just unpredictable. Like, everything that you feel like is introduced to the story that you think is going to happen completely doesn't. And like in another movie, everything would have happened exactly according to plan. But in this movie, everything, it becomes a chaotic clusterfuck one step after the next.
Yep.
Like it is really, like, the best way to describe it is, a lowly punk rock band accidentally stumbles upon a murder in a Nazi club in the back room, the Green Room, while they're getting their stuff. And then they're forced to, sit around through the clusterfuck and try and survive through it for the next hour. And that's pretty much what happens in that movie, man. It is, like, intense. The level of tension in that movie is just crazy. And it was, too. I have to make the recommendation, of course, for one of my favorite movies that I've seen, like, this decade, Blue Ruin, also made by the same director, written and directed by him. These movies are just, like, very realistic in that they are told unconventionally, rather than adhering to, like, certain tropes of cinema. Like, a character in each of these movies, you'll see stuff like a character gets introduced who was once the bad guy, but he turned on all the other bad guys, and you think he's going to be like some sort of redemptive hero now, and that's not necessarily what happens. That's not how it plays out. They could, in any other movie, what do you call the rule where it's like, if you show a gun, that gun has to be used? Is it Chekhov's gun? What is that? It's a storytelling. It's a storytelling rule where, like, if you show a gun in a movie, that gun later on has to be reused, or the rule of threes in filmmaking, where it's like, first you introduce an idea, then later on in the movie you recall that idea, and then later still you finally have the payoff on that idea. Like, in the beginning of the movie, you're like, hey, I heard that doctor's working on a ray gun, and then you go to his lab and you break in and you find the ray gun, and you're like, whoa, I can't believe he actually was working on a ray gun. Third part in the movie later on is the ray gun actually has to be used to vanquish someone.
Yep.
That's the rule of threes. What?
That was in Slither. Well, they actually messed with that convention in Slither when
how so?
When he reaches for the grenade, and then they make a big deal about him grabbing the grenade. And you're like, oh, that's what's going to kill the big monster. Yeah. And then he throws the grenade, and then the grenade gets shot out into the pool, and it goes...
Right.
That's one of my favorite parts of that movie.
See, in this movie, it'll be, like, completely different, where it's like... They'll introduce kind of more like in, like, Slither. In Green Room, it'll be like they'll introduce that there was a shotgun hidden here all along. Someone will finally go, they get the shotgun, they hold it up in the air triumphantly, I have the shotgun, and then they immediately, like, get shot in the fucking face. That is a completely made up moment from the film, but if you've seen the movie, you know that there's stuff like that all over the place in this movie. And you know what? I get the feeling that that's how shit like this. Thank God I've never been in a situation like Green Room where a bunch of Nazis are trying to break in and kill me, but I assume that the absolute nonsensical mess that would follow would be exactly that. Like, how many crimes and crime scenes do you think police just walk into, like, what the fuck happened here? And it's that's exactly what Green Room completely from top to bottom is. Totally fun. So that's my number one of the year for the year 2016. Write that one down. Jack, your number one?
My number one is probably going to alienate me from everybody, but I don't care. It is The Girl in the Photographs.
The Girl in the Photographs.
Yes. People hate this movie, and I love this movie. Look, the way I gauged this, too, was what did I enjoy the most, and that was those 5 movies. But for the first time, The Girl in the Photographs is one of those movies that I rented from iTunes to watch, and I loved it. And I'm completely loved it. I just got immersed in it, and I loved the pace of it. Like, people have complained about it, but other people's opinions mean absolutely nothing to me. So when I just liked the way it played out, like it played like a novel in a sense, and yeah, it has almost every kind of genre mixed up in it, and it was cool. So what I thought about was, oh, what's the movie that I watched, and then when I asked my girlfriend to watch it, I re-rented it for $10. Like, I spent $20 on this movie in the same day because the 24-hour rental disappeared after 24 hours, and I didn't care because I even told her, you have to see this movie, and she enjoyed it. It wasn't her favorite of the year, but it's just one that I even enjoyed more the second time I watched it because it's violent. It's got everything I want in a movie. And yeah, I mean, there's some subplots that don't need to be there, but it was freaking cool. So yeah, that's my number one. I really enjoyed the hell out of that movie.
Cool. It's always good when you finally find one that you really, really enjoy.
Yeah, it is. I was really blown away. I mean, I remember there was the one that I watched. Oh yeah, I do have a couple honorable mentions before we get to the worst, and that would be Neon Demon, Hush, and Fender Bender.
I still have to see Fender Bender, but Hush was another good one. That one was a direct-to-Netflix movie that was totally way better than a lot of other direct-to-Netflix movies. And I totally recommend you pick that one up. And that one could play right alongside Don't Breathe as a break-in on a disabled person who turns the tables on the person coming in. Or another one that's on Netflix right now that I totally want to recommend so that people watch. And I think we did an episode on this, didn't we? The Invitation. Did we have an episode on that?
That's right.
Wait,
yes.
Was that from last year or from this year?
I can't fucking remember.
I'm pretty sure it was actually from this year, wasn't it?
I think
Oh,
it was.
no. Did I just mention a movie from last year for no reason? Oh, my God. Did I? I think I fucking...
No, I think it is a 2016 movie. It came out like the year before, the same way The Witch did.
Oh, okay. I don't want to be that guy. I don't want to be him. 2016. Hooray. All right. I'm not that guy today. Yeah, so go check that movie out too. Totally a fun movie, but not like a great movie, but one that I watched and I was just like, wow, can't believe I enjoyed that one so much. And that's kind of what this year, in retrospect, a lot of the movies have been like, there were some that I thought I was really going to enjoy and, kind of enjoyed or was kind of a little bit less than my anticipated levels on. Even the Neon Demon, which was my number 2 movie of the year, I still kind of expected to love it a whole lot more. But there were many more movies that I expected to be like middling to mediocre that were actually like pretty good, pretty decent. And that's wonderful when you actually can have surprises like that.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the movies this year, there weren't too many, to be honest with you.
Yeah, there weren't as many in previous years, and I think it's because we're seeing a bit of a transition in the way that movies are being like distributed and released. Because the ones so much so in theaters for the past couple of years, the Blumhouse and James Wan movies have like dominated releases pretty much, and but like almost entirely every horror movie that comes out has Jason Blum involved, like somehow, the producer who literally, like, you could name a horror movie right now and he may have been involved in getting that movie put in theaters, which, it's great that they're getting out there, but so many of them are like going off of the reliable formula of just, ghost movie, home invasion, that sort of thing over and over and over again. And, on the other side, there's, the the movies that are coming to Netflix are very different. Not just Netflix, I mean like Hulu or Amazon or anything. The movies that are coming on demand, we still get a lot of those, art house movies, which is fine with me because I love art house horror. One that I regret missing this year is The Eyes of My Mother. I've heard people hate it and people love it, and I totally want to see it. I saw the trailer for it. It looks really great, and hopefully I'll see that one soon.
Is it on
But
Netflix?
I don't know. I think it's on demand. I don't think it's on Netflix. There's a handful of others. And it's weird too because we've also seen like genres shift a whole lot in the past couple of years. Like for a while, Jack, especially like I know you and me, like as podcasters for the past 5 years, we were subjected to like a lot of zombie movies and a lot of like throwback slashers, let's call them. And
invasions.
home invasions, but this year I feel like I didn't see a single new slasher movie that was like a real slasher movie. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you did at all. Did you?
Yeah, Fender Bender.
Okay, Fender Bender. So you saw one, literally. Well, that's exactly what I.
There's actually a couple of really well. There's one really good and one nice try for me that kind of recently came out ish, which I can kind of discuss for a moment. There's one called Lake Nowhere that I saw. That's it's a 50-minute movie, and it's another one of those. This movie was made in the 80s, Grindhouse, that kind of crap.
Right, nostalgia for something that they never even experienced, probably.
Yeah, except
because the person making it's like 20.
Yeah, well, these people seem to be a little bit older, and they actually got it right for a change. It kind of has it's a very serious. Well, it starts off, the same like WNUF, like somebody recorded this movie on VHS tape. And it starts off with, a commercial, beer commercial, and then there's a trailer for another movie, which I think would be an actual better movie than the one that you get to see.
Ooh.
Which is fine, because trailers usually do that, but like Nowhere, it takes itself serious, and it's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool little movie. I understand that I think it's on Shudder now, but it's not on Netflix. Mm-hmm. It's I have I got the Blu-ray, got it pretty cheap, and I really enjoyed it. It's really cool movie. The other one though is one that's been like making waves in the super independent self-financed I think it's Indiegogo or one of those, but they're distributing the movie themselves. It's called The Barn. And a lot of people have been talking about it the last couple of years because they were like, oh my god, this is like old school 80s and all that. And it is shot that way, except the problem is it's another one of those movies that it's a nice try, but it feels like they're trying to, just like what you mentioned, it's somebody that was never lived in the 80s. Mm-hmm. But only knows about the 80s from the movies that they've watched. And then they go, okay, well, we can do that. And then they do it, but then they make the mistake of incorporating shit from today in it. Like the way people talk and from now, the dialect of Americans, let's say, is a little bit, if not a lot, different than what it was in the 80s. Or even the 70s, for that matter. There's different phrases and just catchphrases that people say these days that they don't say in the 80s. But, I mean, that's being nitpicky in a sense, but when it takes you out of the movie that you're supposed to be in, that's just something that always bothers me, that everybody jumped on the Grindhouse bandwagon after the movie Grindhouse came out and bombed. All of a sudden, everybody was like, well, that's a great idea. We can make our movie look like shit. so people will watch it. And it's like, it's kind of like that's why we're stuck in that we're still stuck in that rut where it's the Member Berries movie. You know,
Yeah.
That's everybody's just like, remember this, remember that, remember this, remember that. Me too, me too, me too, and that's all we get. You know, so I hope that I know we're gonna get to our worst in a minute, but there's one thing I do want to mention. I was talking to Nick about this earlier. Is I just hope, and I'm not trying to sound mean here. I'm just trying to be gentle with this, but I think the horror genre and people within it have this problem, especially since social media has exploded over the years. You know, where entertainers and whatnot are on Facebook and on Twitter, and people interact with them. You know, and that's cool. But I think this year, hopefully, they start to not step away from social media altogether, but I think that what the directors and writers need to kind of do is stop kissing ass and, like, let's say, for instance, we'll just use a non-name. Like, Joe Smith makes shitty movies every year, right? He makes the shittiest movies. People can't stand his movies. But Joe is your either a social media friend or somebody that is an acquaintance of yours. And you just say to everybody, you gotta see Joe Smith's movie. It's amazing. You know, everybody uses amazing these days, like they're Chandler from Friends or something. It's like, how was it? It was amazing. That's how they all say it, you know? And then you watch Joe Smith's movie and you're like, this fucking Joe Smith movie, another one. All right, we're going to watch it. And then you watch it and you go, oh my God, fucking Joe Smith movie. I knew it. I knew it was going to be a piece of shit. And then you go on a tirade, you know, oh my God, don't see Joe Smith's movie. It's a piece of shit. And then somebody else is like, but Joe's my friend on social media. And it's like there's too much ass kissing where I'm not saying people should be dicks to their friends. What I think needs to happen is people just need to be honest with their friends and be constructive with their criticisms. And maybe people that are Joe Smith will step away and say, and take a look at themselves and what they're making and say to themselves, maybe I could make things a little bit better. You know? I mean, I'm not everything is subjective. You know, there's no right or wrong about filmmaking. There's going to be people that love Joe Smith and people that don't love Joe Smith. But when you see Joe Smith not directing and, you know, going to festivals all the time, watching other movies or screenings and taking pictures with people and partying, you know the motherfucker's not working. He's out there like, look at me, I'm horror guy. I know all about horror. And I'm going to trivia night, or I'm going to, you know, the thing that brought this to my attention was there was a trailer I just saw. Not that this movie's going to be substantial by any means, but it just hit me like a ton of shit. It's called Colossal, with Anne Hathaway, of all people, where it's like this neat little trailer. It's a pretty original concept where this creature does what Anne Hathaway does. Like this big monster creature, and it just destroys towns. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty neat. That's a neat trailer. And then I saw that it had Dan Stevens in it, Jason Sudeikis, or however he pronounces his name, and Tim Blake Nelson. I'm like, wow, I wonder who made this. It's Nacho Vigalondo. And I'm like, holy shit, Nacho Vigalondo directed this? And it's not a big budget movie, it's an independent movie that he had put together, got these big name people in it involved, and it got picked up and purchased, and now they're going to be pushing it. And I'm like, well, Nacho isn't a guy that you hear about too often these days. You don't see him all over social media. You don't see, you know, it's the same with, I always mention Christopher Nolan. Christopher Nolan, what is Christopher Nolan doing? Do you see him on Twitter? No. You know where you see him? Making movies. That's what he does. That's his job. You know, I'm not saying that you can't be social and, you know, accept your fans and all that. You can do whatever the fuck you want. But I think that if people just hone their craft and stop just trying to be the number one horror geek in the world, I think they'll be able to come down a notch and say, you know what, maybe we can make a damn good horror movie. Because these people are stuck in the horror genre. And Nick, you notice this too. I want you to jump in here. Non-horror directors are almost always the ones that make the best horror movies.
Yeah.
Almost always. It's true.
I mean, my second favorite pick of the night, Neon Demon, was not by a horror director.
Right.
You know,
Green Room.
Right.
He's really not a horror director.
Look at like upcoming next month. The movie I'm very excited to see is Get Out by Jordan Peele, which shouldn't be possible that it looks that good, but it does. So that'll be cool. And yeah, I think that like. Also, because we've been going through like this golden age of horror and this, indie horror renaissance that we've been through these past couple of years, we do get spoiled by these like little movies that are like completely different all the time, and it almost it spoils everyone to a degree that it's like it makes everything else around it look like complete shit, you know.
Yeah.
So, who knows?
I'm just hoping that, I don't know, man. It's just hard these days. And I'm not saying, the old days were better. No, they weren't, But I just really hope that there are horror movies that we just get, hard-ons for this year.
Absolutely.
Because, there are
I hope
some
that every
movies,
year.
Yeah, where I'm like, oh, man, I really want to see that. But almost all the time this year, except for The Witch or something like that, or even Green Room, you sit there and you're like, this movie's gonna suck. Let's watch it. Oh wow, it's good. Okay, cool.
Right.
That's how it is, and it's not that you're judging it. It's just there's like zero. The only advertisement you see anymore is a YouTube trailer, possibly, or you just stumble upon it and say, "Oh, this looks interesting," and then you watch it, and then you're either let down or you're not,
Right.
So.
Like, dude, one movie that I have seen a trailer for next year. I know we're kind of discussing next year a little early because we haven't even gotten into our bottom pick yet. But one movie for next year that I'm cautious about that everybody – here's half the problem. Everybody watches a trailer. Everybody goes, oh, my God, did you see this trailer? Oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God. And then that movie comes out, and it's kind of okay. And then everybody else, like, you're like, that movie's a solid B. That's not a problem. I enjoyed it. After the movie comes out, though, everybody else was like, oh, my God, oh, my God, oh, my God. They're like, worst movie ever. Worst movie I ever saw. I have called it before the Prometheus effect, where people got so excited for Prometheus and then completely hated it afterwards as the worst movie ever, in quotes.
Yep.
And that's the second time this cast I said in quotes. I'm going to stop doing that because I don't like it. But
you're going to stop doing that in quotes.
Yeah, in quotes. Stop, in quotes. No, like all right, it's been 5 years now since Prometheus came out. Is everybody who are all the people who were saying that was the worst movie ever still saying that about Prometheus? No, of course not.
No,
they were
they're all turning
dramatic.
around now.
Yeah, exactly.
The new one's coming out, and they're like, you know what? Let's watch that again. Then they go, you know what? I sat down today and I rewatched Prometheus, and I was totally wrong the last time. It's actually a really good movie. I don't know what I was thinking. I guess I just wasn't in the mood for it. It's the same shit.
Exactly.
Every single time.
And I mean, Prometheus, again, to me, is still pretty much a B movie.
You know what fucking...
And like a B plus movie. You know what I mean? B minus, whatever the fuck.
Why can't you just say you like a movie or you don't like a movie? You don't have to like something in order to fit in with the crowd.
But so many people are like that nowadays where they can't formulate their own fucking opinion.
I see it all the time on horror groups. Horror groups, people go, what do you guys think of this movie? Fucking watch it and find out, asshole. That's how you're supposed to do it.
Damn, there's one. Well, no. Anyway, all right. To go back to my point about Prometheus.
Sorry, go ahead.
Prometheus. Everybody in the world hated it, and the movie coming out this year that everybody is going nuts for is Alien Covenant, and it's like, whoa, everybody, slow down. First off, that trailer didn't look that great. It looked okay, and maybe the movie will be wonderful, but you should probably temper your expectations a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, it'll probably be okay. You're just excited to see new Alien content on screen. I understand that. I understand that just fine. But you're acting like the internet was acting like this is guaranteed to be a good movie when it's like, no, there have definitely been terrible Alien movies, you know? In fact, y'all hated the last one that wasn't even an Alien movie, but y'all acted like it was going to be the greatest thing ever, and then it was just kind of okay, and you shat on it and called it the worst movie ever. Go back a couple of years. Let's name the other 4 Alien movies that suck. Alien 3, which is a mess.
Everybody shit on that too. And now Alien 3, everybody went back on it and they go, oh yeah, you know what? I fucking love Alien 3 more than all the other aliens. Why? Because it's the obscure one that everybody else hates.
No, I still will not go for that one. I don't hate that movie. I don't hate that movie, but I don't. I mean, it's clearly worse than the first 2. The fourth one is atrocious, Alien Resurrection. Yep. I don't like it at all. But people go back on it for Joss Whedon. Oh, but it's got that Joss Whedon dialogue that I like so much. It's so quippy. Yeah, well, okay, that's good. You can keep that shit. Thanks.
It's so quippy.
Dude, the next 2 after that. What are the next 2 after that? Alien versus Predator 1. And Alien versus Predator even worse. Like, and now those movies are no-brainers. Any idiot who walks up could write a better Alien versus Predator movie than those 2. I don't care if you like them. I don't care, because it's like if you even like those movies, which is fine, maybe there's something in them that you enjoy. Guess what? It could be better easily.
They should make a fucking horror movie called Fool Me Once, and you watch it and it goes suck. You know, it sucks. And then they make a sequel called Fool Me Twice.
Somebody check. That might already have been done for all I know.
No, they should be upfront and honest. Like, this movie sucks. Like, dude, I heard you're gonna crack up at this. Maybe you're not. Who knows? I'm not gonna tell you if you're gonna laugh. But I just did. There's an old interview I was listening to. It was Howard Stern talking to Harvey Weinstein, and he asked him were there movies that sucked that you put out, and he goes, oh my god, the list is huge, and he said there was one movie with Harrison Ford. I can't remember what the name of it was, but he said I watched it, and then he has doctors that one of them is Quentin Tarantino to fix the movie. Like, he'll show him the movie, and then he says, I go up to Quentin, and he goes, doctor, give me the news. And then Quentin will be like, okay, this is how you fix it. But he goes, Quentin Tarantino goes, Harvey, this patient's dead. There's no saving it. It's dead. The pulse, there's no pulse. And he's like, fuck. So that's the kind of I don't know why I brought that up, but I think it's funny little side note. But like, that's the kind of shit that like needs to happen, man. There's so many, there's so much shit these days. Oh my god! By the way, Nick, I watched. We'll get into the worst in a second.
We are. All right, that's what's next. After this point, we're going to go back. All right, everybody chill out.
Everybody, this one here came out a while ago. It's called 555. It's fucking incredible.
What, a movie?
It's a shot-on-video movie. Who was it? Severin put it out. It's about a killer that kills couples fucking.
Okay.
It's every single woman, including the 50-year-old detective, gets their tits out in this movie. It's and she lets her one boob out to mess with this one what is it? not a victim. When you're suspect. That's Jesus Christ.
Okay.
Yeah. She goes into the suspect's house and she's like coming on to him and all that, and then she takes her boob out. And she looks like your mom. Like, it's just like...
My mom?
No, not your mom in particular, but anybody's. Like, Blank's mom. Like, it's your mom. It's so fucking good. But it's so good. Like, it's just put the camera on a tripod, hit record, and see what happens kind of thing. But it's, like, really fucking enjoyable, like most shot-on-video movies. But it's not... It's one of those that, like... I know it's, like... People love to watch shitty movies, including myself and yourself, just because of the absurdity of it and how bad it is and all that. But sometimes they're just enjoyable for their shit quality. And I recommend the hell out of 555. But go on.
Now, apparently this was a 1988 film and not the Bollywood film that came out 4 years ago. Okay. I love garbage, so maybe one day I'll see that. But
speaking of garbage.
Yes, speaking of perfect segue. You're really good at this hosting shit. It took 5 years, but I think we're finally getting to a where we know how to have a show.
We're getting there.
Completely off the rails. So, bottom one for me. I'm going to go first.
All right.
This was a movie. I don't even think I've discussed it on the show, actually. It was on pretty much all the streaming services earlier this year. It is a movie about mental illness in a not fun way. And it's presented as a horror movie, and that kind of bothered me a lot while I was watching it. And also the movie has like no payoff, and that really bothered me. It's called They Look Like People. Have you seen this?
Oh, yeah.
You saw it?
No, I haven't, but I know of it. I see it on Netflix all the time.
Okay.
It's like, they look like people.
Right. It's kind of a psychological thriller, but it's presented like it's a horror movie. It's basically about, and I mean, I feel like I can't talk about it without spoiling it a little, but I pretty much already did by saying it's about a schizophrenic guy. But it kind of is about a guy who clearly has had problems with mental illness before, and it's like, is he really hearing these voices? Is something really going to happen? Are aliens coming for him? Are the evil creatures coming? Is it demons? Blah, 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 through the whole movie. And that's pretty much the movie. Like, it's about a dude who really annoys his friend who's his roommate, and then his roommate kind of goes along with it and humors the dude, and you're wondering the whole time, is this movie going to what's going to happen in this movie? Is there going to be some sort of crazy thing, like we find out he was actually receiving messages from beyond the whole time or something? And instead the movie just decides to, like, I don't know, kind of poop out at the end. And it is boring the whole time, and I felt like it was boring in a way that, like, maybe this movie will actually have some sort of crazy ending and we can, like, stand by that. But the ending instead just made the whole movie feel like it was sort of exploitative. I don't like movies that just take mental illness and put it on screen as, like, something to gawk at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I have no problem with an exaggerated form of mental illness. Like, here comes the wacky clown killer or something, because it's not real. It's not, like, mental illness in real life is not like that. It's like, I don't think that it's, disrespectful to disabled people that Professor X is in a wheelchair. You know what I mean? Right. Like, okay, he's a dude in a wheelchair, whatever. But when it's like actually taking a look at, like, what real mental illness is like, and then, like, just kind of spreading it on the screen like you put butter on toast, and doing it so that it's for your enjoyment, sort of, or to, like, look at as something that's, like, I don't know. I mean, I just didn't like this movie, and I didn't like the way it was told. I felt like it was more exploitative in a way that made me feel uncomfortable. And I use the word exploitation a lot on this show. I do not mean exploitative in a way that is I'm not talking about exploitation cinema. I'm talking about actual, like, disrespectfully handling a disease that people have. You ever see the movie Blindness that came out a couple of years ago? I think it's about a 10-year-old movie. And it's a movie where all of a sudden one day everybody wakes up and is blind. They don't know if it was a chemical attack that happened or some sort of spiritual event. Everybody is blind except for like one person in the movie, right? And that's what the movie, or no, like less than 5% of the population are still able to see. And all the people who are blind become like completely helpless. They're walking around naked because they don't even know what's going on, like all this stupid stuff. And blind people, like blind organizations at the time, were like, hey, we're blind people and we actually function in society. Like, you don't actually have to make a movie about how we're all helpless savages, and that's kind of what they did in that movie. And like the whole time I was watching Blindness, I was just like, this is kind of really stupid. Like, people would just figure shit out one way or another, especially if there are a handful of people to guide them all. It's not that bad. I mean, granted, society would be ruined as you knew it, but it kind of made it look like blindness itself was so debilitating that all the world would fall apart without sight. And this is kind of, it handles the actual illness with the same type of sledgehammer instead of being like thoughtful about it, and it really bothered me. And I
it kind of sounds like The People Who Own the Dark, but that's an older movie. Sounds like a better movie than that. Or I don't know. I haven't seen Blindness, but People in the Dark is a better movie.
All right, but to come back to They Look Like People, you compare this to a movie like Jacob's Ladder. Where Jacob's Ladder is kind of about mental illness and this guy having hallucinations. And I mean, it could be about that if that's your interpretation of the movie. And I think that is the actual interpretation that like you're supposed to have of the movie, is that it's about like mental illness. But I don't know. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's about life and death. Maybe it's about the characters are dead the whole time. But I don't know. There's a lot of movies about mental illness that you've seen that are like not actually saying things about mentally ill people in a way that's like weird. I don't know. That's all I'm saying. I'm done talking about it because I feel like I'm getting into that like you can't, someone think of the children. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that this movie was like,
what's annoying?
It's lazy.
It's the same annoying trend that happened in the 80s when everybody was an escaped mental patient. And they always show you a scene at the hospital, and everybody in there's like, you know what I mean? Every fucking one of them, and they're like cross-eyed and like poking their eyes out and just like, I hate that shit. That's not. Listen, I haven't been in. I know I should be in a mental hospital sometimes, but I would say that that's not how mental hospitals are. You don't walk in and there's like people in like
bunny slippers
just walking around like hitting the wall and just
this
like.
This movie didn't quite do that sort of thing though. They didn't do like the thing where it's like, everybody's like bananas when you're nuts. Instead it was more like well, here's other takes on this movie. I'm just looking on Wikipedia. Dread Central, they wrote that the movie is deliberately placed, subdued stunner of a film that succeeds above all in its genuine approach of concern and respect for its realistically horrifying subject matter. I just don't believe that it had a realistic concern or approach. I think that it took the hallucinations and the torture of that human character and said, here's the real horror. Imagine if you were Psycho 2. Psycho 2. Wow. Anyway, over here, Film School Rejects praised the film for its treatment of mental illness, commenting, it's rare to find a genre film that takes the time to explore the human behind the madness while still providing the thrills. And it's like, I disagree because like I feel like we were the ones being thrilled. We were the ones experiencing it, not the person on screen. Like, it's hard to explain the differentiation between what I'm saying is acceptable and what's not. But it's like, it's also like any horror movie where they just present like the mentally ill as like crazy, like you were saying, like when they like go to a mental asylum in a movie and everybody there is just like screaming crazy. It's all like, okay, I understand that being presented with something like that can be unsettling, but it doesn't make a good horror movie to me any day of the week. Maybe it's one of my least favorite subgenres of horror is like the wacky mental illness, but I'm not entertained by it at all. So that's why this movie's on my bottom. I think that I've enlightened myself a little bit about maybe my least favorite subgenre, but I didn't like it at all. That's my take on that one.
All right. I have one. It's not the absolute worst movie I've ever seen. So just keep that in mind. Actually, and that's the funny thing. 2016 really, it had a bunch of movies that I really didn't mind. Like, it wasn't furious over any movie.
Oh, absolutely. I actually had a hard time coming up with like any other movies that I disliked as much as this one. Anything.
I'll discuss a couple. Like, let's say Blair Witch and 31, I thought would be a lot worse than what they were, but they're all right.
Yeah.
They weren't great, but they weren't bad. You know, as bad as everybody's making them out to be.
You know what? Blair Witch is another one of those movies that when the trailer came out, everybody was like, "Oh my god, look at this!" And then it came out, and everybody was like, "It's the worst movie ever." Yeah. And I remember when I saw it, I was like, "No, it's exactly like what the Blair Witch movie was if it came out in 2016."
Right.
Like, what did you people see the original? Like. And 31, I did a whole episode on that, so check that one out.
Yes. However, there was one movie that Scream Factory put out, and I was really excited about. Well, not really excited, I wouldn't say, but I was like, this might be pretty decent. It was called The Funhouse Massacre, and have you ever let's say, Nick, you've drank alcohol before, I'm sure.
Yeah, recently probably.
Have you had like whiskey and beer, and a shot of Jaeger, and then drank some milk, and then you had like pasta, and maybe some bread, and maybe you had some cookies too. And then they had peanuts. And then you also decided, you know what? I'm going to have some chips too. And then I'm going to have a soda and maybe a Red Bull. And then I'm going to do another shot. But this time it's going to be like a blowjob shot. Because I know you like that. So
basically, it's like you abused yourself.
Well, what you did was you made this... You put all these elements in there, in your body. What happens... when you put all that in your body in one night,
more than likely, for the abuse.
You're going to puke or shit your brains out, or both at the same time. It's kind of what happens with this movie, where they go, hey, here's a great idea. Suicide Squad's coming out, right? Yeah. We watched a bunch of horror movies, didn't we? Yeah. Okay, let's just do that all. Do everything. Put it all in this one movie. And put some really bad humor in there, and we'll act like we're the best directors ever. But maybe that's not what they thought. But let me just put it this way: it's not the worst movie. It has some cool moments, but it has like Clint Howard in it, and Robert Englund, and the other guy that was he was in Justified and a couple other things. I can't remember his damn name. It has a bunch of people in it, I'll just say.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all serial killers from a mental hospital, by the way, Nick.
Of course.
And Robert Englund runs the mental hospital. He's in the first scene, and he ain't going to last long because he gets a big paycheck. And then all of a sudden, this girl comes in who's the daughter, and she's a psychopath to one of the psychopaths. She comes in and pretends to be like Harley Quinn and kills Robert Englund, gets all the killers out. They open up a fun house where there's a fun house that has all these killers in them, but they kill the killers that were playing them. So they actually take over the roles of themselves in the fun house where people go to the fun house and then they start killing people. But the people that they kill, you see, there's a group of teenagers that go to the... Oh, wait, but there's also a cop that was part of this cult, or she was the daughter of somebody that was part of the cult from the guy that... Do you see where I'm going? There's too much plot in this movie.
Absolutely.
And it just goes all over the place like cat shit. It's just... It's all over. And by the end of the movie, they we're going to twist everything, and then we're going to kill off everybody, but then we're not going to kill off it, but then we're going to kill off everybody. And then there's a happy birthday to me surprise ending. And then it's like, okay, we just surprised you. And it's like, this is what I was talking about before. You've seen a lot of horror movies. We get it. We get it. Really, we do. But we don't want to see those same horror movies regurgitated tenfold in a movie. That's what I'm saying. So Funhouse Massacre is one of those where you just are like, okay, this has way too much. And bear in mind, like The Girl in the Photographs is the same type of movie, except Jesus, I can't even speak tonight. They did it in like a... Here's this, and then here's this kind of pace. This one here is, there's this and 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 this, and this goes over here and that goes over there, and da-da-da-da-da. And they play checkers with the plot. It's like, it's just, yeah. The humor is terrible. Terrible dialogue. And the tone is all over. It's just not, it's not a good movie. I felt duped. I got it for $7, so it wasn't a total loss, but it was a total loss of my brain cells while watching it. But it does have some cool visuals. There are some cool kills, some neat little scenes. It has some stuff going for it. There might be some potential, but it really seems like everybody's just trying to make the same movie that they don't know what the movie is. They just want to be a filmmaker and think filmmakers are millionaires, where they're not millionaires. They actually don't make any money at all. But they make... I don't know. I don't know. It's just one of those movies. That's all.
So, yeah. Moving along. That's our top 5. Our bottom 1. We covered pretty much everything. We ranted about those bottom movies plenty. And, what else do we have? We have listener picks.
Yes.
They're top and bottoms. Thank you everybody who participates. Follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Jack and Nick Show. Follow us on YouTube. Follow us all these places so that you too can participate in our episodes when we put them out. This time, the question we put out on Facebook and Twitter: what was your favorite horror movie of 2016? What was the worst one? So we wanted your number 1 and your bottom 1. I'm going to go ahead and read the responses on Facebook first, and then Jack, you can tell us what they said on Twitter, all right?
Okay, sounds good.
This is as of Sunday, January 22nd, so if you didn't reply by then, sorry, kid. Okay. Casey Chamberlain told us on our Facebook page. I forgot what the hell it's called. I rarely ever use Facebook these days because I completely hate it. So when I look at it, like my mind goes blank for a second. I
deactivated mine, by the way. So if anybody out there is...
I miss you already. It's terrible on there. It's a wasteland.
Deactivated it. I just don't want to see... I'm tired of seeing hate.
Get off Facebook if you can, kids. But if you're on it, follow us, please. So, favorite movie of the year for Casey Chamberlain? Lights Out. I didn't see Lights Out, did you?
Yeah.
You did? You saw it in the theater or at home?
Well, it's the same thing. Humble brag. No. I work hard for my money, and you better treat me right, Nick.
Yeah, you put a little movie theater in your home.
Yeah,
but what about the movie? What did you
Lights
think?
Out was one of the first movies I watched in my new home, and it was good. It was serviceable. It's the I feel the same way with that as I did with Blair Witch, where it's like, okay.
Mm-hmm.
And then
like it's an in and out movie, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those fun movies to watch. No pun intended. With the lights out, it's like the Blair. You know what? The Blair Witch. The sound of that. If you watch it with good sound, it makes it cool. It makes it that much cooler. So if you have a good surround sound system, you can enjoy these movies a little bit more rather than watching it on your iPad or iPhone and shit. But so
all right
Lights
then.
Out. Yeah.
Now his worst movie I also did not see because I'm terrible about getting out to see these movies in theaters these days. I've got a kid. Get over it. Don't judge me. So his worst movie of the year was The Boy.
Guilty.
You saw that one or didn't see that one?
I saw that one. No, you're guilty. I'm judging you.
Stop it. No, you did see The Boy. So what did you think?
I did see The Boy. I mentioned it before on the show. It has a really good premise, but then it kind of has the same exact plot twist that another movie had.
Homebound or Housebound. Yeah, we did talk about this on the show. Go back and listen to our old episodes. You'll hear us talk about it.
It's neat, but it...
All right. Next up, Brian. I don't know if he's a new listener or not. I don't remember him responding before, but Brian says, my favorite would be a three-way tie between the Vivitch, he spelled it the proper way as it's spelled on the trailer and the posters for some reason, The Wailing, and The Greasy Strangler.
The Wailing I haven't seen yet. I actually mentioned that, or said that today. I know it's on Netflix, and I really want to see it. I heard it's really good.
The Wailing is on Netflix?
Yeah.
Now, is this one, is it a J-horror movie?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What, do you know about
I think
it?
It's a Korean one. Well, the reason I don't want to watch it because it's 2.5 hours or something like that, or it's long.
But I've heard good stuff other than just from Brian.
I'm like, yeah.
I know nothing about it other than the title and that it's Asian.
And that's what happened. You know what? That's what happened with the movie The Barn. Like that kind of movie, you expect it to be like an hour and 20 or something like that. And when I see that your movie is an hour and 37, that's when my asshole puckers. I'm like, oh, do I want to sit here and watch this movie for that long?
I understand that.
It has to be 90 minutes. Trim the fat.
Okay, I'm looking it up right here. The Wailing is a 2016 South Korean horror film directed by Na Hong-jin about a policeman who teams up with a shaman and a mysterious woman to investigate mysterious killings and illness. It was a commercial success at the box office. I haven't even seen a trailer for this or anything, and apparently Ridley Scott wants to remake it for American audiences. I don't know. So that one's going to be one I'm going to have to add to my list. So thank you, Brian, for participating.
Thank you, Brian. I agree
worst
with your other two movies, by the way.
Yeah, we already talked about that. Now here's his worst is a hot take. I wish when we said we have a hot take, we could play a siren sound effect that's like wow, and then like a water hose that's like or something. No,
you just did.
Well, yeah, we're not Morning Zoo enough for my taste, I guess. Anyway, the worst is Don't Breathe. He says it's the worst. After I just said it was number 5 or 4, I don't even remember.
I can get behind. Well, not get behind it, but I can understand people not liking that movie at all. Mm-hmm. Because it has that kind of like you don't like anybody in the movie. Everybody's an asshole. Mm-hmm. Everybody's an asshole in this movie.
Yeah, it is hard to get behind. I guess. Anyone in that movie because you really want you know it's a movie that doesn't pick favorites for sure because in any other movie there would have been a reason that like one side was worse than the other, but yeah, you're not really giving anybody to root for, and if you really wanted that person to lose, I could understand.
Yep.
All right, I see you there, so I'm gonna take back the hot take. But next up, Tim comments on. I'm not doing full names unless it's somebody who we constantly say the full name of because they're always commenting.
If you comment 3 times, we say your full name.
So
And
be
then-
prepared.
And then we mentioned your penis size and all that. It gets ugly. Go ahead.
You know that about it. Anyway. Favorite
KC,
movie.
11
Oh
and
my
3
God.
quarters.
Jesus Christ. Oh, I really hope he listens to this episode.
He's not going to be happy about that one.
Favorite.
He'll be happy about
Wait.
the size, but not the fact
Tim's
that I know it.
favorite movie. Tim. His favorite movie was The Witch.
Ah, good choice, Tim.
His least favorite was either The Darkness or The Eyes of My Mother. The Darkness, I'm not really familiar with. I think it was some sort of supernatural thing. Did it even come out in theaters, or was it direct to garbage?
I don't fucking remember. Isn't that the one with Kevin Bacon? Or was that like
Yes.
the dark?
Apparently, Kevin Bacon and his wife and 2 children returned to L.A. after a fun-filled vacation to the Grand Canyon. Strange events soon start to take place in the family, whatever, blah, blah. Like, I'm already exasperated just reading the, like, as soon as it's like supernatural and strange events start to take place, it's like, oh, you got nothing going
I
on,
remember
dude.
the old Darkness movie, the Anna Paquin one.
Oh, yeah, but there's probably a million movies named Darkness or The Darkness or whatever.
Well, you know who directed the Anna Paquin one?
No.
Wame Balaguero.
Who the fuck is on?
You know who it is. He directed
No.
Wreck and Wreck 2.
Oh, he did Wreck. That's
and Wreck
right.
3 and Wreck 4 and Wreck 5 and Wreck... No,
I don't care. I didn't like Darkness, the original. The 2002 movie.
I didn't get to see it.
No, I did not enjoy that one. But regardless, that is one of his worst movies of the year. I have no idea. Yo, but The Eyes of My Mother is a movie that's been getting a lot of like good buzz. It's kind of a art house black and white horror film that might be about cannibalism. The trailer doesn't tell you a whole lot, and I'm really interested to see it. And I've heard nothing bad about it until right now.
I hear good and I hear bad, but
You haven't seen it.
I haven't
Obviously.
seen it.
Oh, what do you think?
Yeah, I want to see it. I like the trailer.
Yeah.
It-
All right. Well,
Yeah.
next up, a person who we say the full name of on this podcast, Tor Larson.
Larson Tour.
His best movie is The Devil's Candy.
The Devil's Candy.
I don't know that one.
Tour has good taste. I like Tour's good taste.
Yeah. Well, what's The Devil's Candy?
Tour, 8 inches.
Oh, God.
Devil's Candy. Hang on a second.
It's oh man, look at the cover for The Devil's Candy. Okay, a struggling painter is possessed by satanic forces after he and his family move out to their dream home.
Damn, Tour.
Okay.
It looks great. I'm
Well,
going to put it down.
we'll have to check that one out. I don't know when we finally see it.
Where did you see it, Tour? I know you can't
Yeah,
answer
really.
now. You'll probably answer after I already
Isn't he
probably have it.
Australian or
Yes,
maybe
he's
maybe
Australian.
it's not here in America yet? Is that the case? I don't know. Anyway, his worst is Lights Out, and he writes, "Sorry, Casey."
And again, I can understand somebody's not liking that. Because it's one of those movies that you're just like, okay. They're making a sequel from what I hear. I didn't know if it
and
warranted a sequel.
Next up, he also had a what do you call it? Honorable mention of The Witch. He thought it was in 2015, but he was like, whatever, I still loved it. Anyway, even with the worst that we're seeing from other people, there's none that's like that movie that, like every year there's one that's like, oh my God, World War Z was the worst movie of any year. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Not just World War Z, but I just threw that one out there. There's a movie every year that's like everybody saw and everybody is like, oh my God, this movie's terrible. There was a lot more, like you said, sort of like pleasant surprises and just mediocre movies rather than like outright hateful movies.
Right. Yeah, there really wasn't too many shitty movies this year.
So what are they saying on Twitter? What are our people on Twitter saying? Again, at Jack and Nick Show on Twitter.
Well, at Mick_Boss says, whilst not completely horror, Green Room had enough horrific gore moments and shocks for me to justify saying it's my fave.
Sure, I agree 100%.
Mm-hmm. Shout-outs to the more traditional straight-up horror of Train to Busan and The Wailing and The Witch.
Now, Train to Busan is what is it? Eastern European. Is it Eastern European? I actually have
I
to
don't
look it
know.
up. But it's a zombies on a train movie or something.
I heard it's good, but I just hear the title and that's all I hear about it.
No, I know on it's not. It's actually South Korean. I said it was Eastern European. I'm sorry. South Korean zombie apocalypse horror thriller. I heard that it was pretty good from where I heard about it. But I kind of am super over zombie movies, so I got to avoid that one until I can come back around on zombie movies sometime in the future.
No. I'm kind of in the same. It depends. I think there was one I watched this year that was really good too. Doesn't matter. It's not really going to add much to the show.
So, what else did he say?
He said, as for worst, I avoided things I knew I'd hate, but I did see a few rather average ones like Lights Out, which was just meh. So, yeah. I mean... Exactly
what I just said. Like, mediocre versus hatred.
So, at Sarah Thraja 491, sorry.
A new listener.
Yes, a new listener. Welcome. Let us know... Don't Breathe and Hush was my fave. And yeah, we'll talk about that. Don't Breathe and Hush were the faves. So there you go. Who said Don't Breathe sucked?
I don't remember. I already closed Facebook.
See, that's why our listeners drop off. No. Hush was really cool. I really enjoyed it the more I think about it. And Don't Breathe, I mean, it's one that I don't even have in my honorable mentions or in my top 5. Not that I didn't like it, but it's like, it's one of those that I was like, okay. It was good. And I'm good. Cool.
All right.
Yeah, so the worst was The Darkness and the Vei? V-E-I? Or is it The Veil? It's probably The Veil.
The Veil?
Veil?
Yeah. I don't know what The Veil was. I think I heard about it, but it's a supernatural horror film. Jason Blum was producer. So that is pretty much every movie in the world. 30 years after a charismatic cult leader convinced his followers to kill themselves, the survivor returns to the scene of with a documentary crew.
Well, that's your first mistake. Jessica Alba's in it.
Jessica Alba?
Isn't that
I thought she quit movies. Well, apparently not.
She got like pregnant and stuff, and it was like, well, I'm gonna have kids.
Well, there you go.
I have it.
I don't know. I haven't seen it, but this guy says it sucks.
At RR Sean Dion, or as we like to call him, Sean Kelly, he says, Green Room and The Initiation, I think. I don't remember the bad ones.
See, don't remember the bad ones. It's really not just us. This really was a theme for the year that, like, the bad ones were like forgettable, mediocre movies rather than hatred, which is a statement that I have not made about horror movies since I don't know when. Like, there's always one that's like, I saw this one and it was terrible. I regret spending money on it, every year. And this year I only had one movie that I even felt remotely like I really wasted my time on. All the other movies that I saw, I was like at least happy I watched for as long as I did. Like, just throwing some other mediocre titles out there, like Holidays. That was another one that was like
that one I just stopped.
Yeah, but it wasn't like, even if you had to watch the whole thing, it would have been a middle of the road movie or mediocre. You wouldn't have totally hated it like you've hated movies.
Burp.
That was like the most subdued burp I have ever had in my life, and I managed to still squirt words on top of it. There's a few others that were like good movies but not great movies. Like Yoga Hosers was one, but that's barely even horror, really. It was more like just Kevin Smith being a goofball.
And not that this is like, I mean, let's face it, us and our listeners are the only things that matter in this world. Everybody else sucks. But just take this into consideration. Has anybody even mentioned The Conjuring 2?
Exactly what I was gonna like. I was thinking I was gonna make a point of that it wasn't a year where it was like, people were going to pick out those sort of movies as their least favorite. You know what I mean?
And the one thing The Shallows I haven't seen yet, but nobody's mentioning that. And I don't know if they're considered a horror. Maybe not many people mentioned it, but like Ouija, Origin of Evil.
Right.
Nobody's talking about it.
It's more like that forgettable, mediocre quality that.
Yeah. The Forest.
Yeah, The Forest was another one from this year.
31.
Yeah, I even saw the reimagining that was on Fox. I didn't even mention this on the show, but the Rocky Horror Picture Show reimagining that came out this year, and even that was not like so completely hateable. Like, it wasn't good at all, but it was pretty much forgettable. Like, I forgot that I had seen it until I looked at my flick chart on flickchart.com and saw that I apparently saw the Rocky Horror Picture Show remake type thing that they did on that TV channel. You know what I mean? Like, even that was not so offensive to me that I remembered it at the end of the year as like this hideous thing. It's very weird to feel this way, and I think it's almost like we were spoiled in a wholly different way that we've never been before, where the movies that we got are wasting our time less. And I'm like at a loss for an explanation for it. Like, I feel like maybe there's some sort of algorithm that these companies are using to determine what gets a bigger release and what doesn't. Like, there's just got to be some reason, sort of like the way that, YouTube manipulates the videos that show up in your feed based on your watch time in them and stuff.
Right.
Maybe Netflix is doing like the same type of thing, and not just Netflix, but like Amazon or anybody else, where it's like they're just pumping out the movies that they know people are going to watch. Like, even like I know, like, isn't there some Netflix show, like, in fact it was House of Cards, that they looked at.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah,
they came up with the whole concept for the show based on like what the spreadsheet said. The data tells us that people this age are watching Netflix and will watch a show about this starring this guy. So if we can, like, political dramas are popular, Kevin Spacey's popular, the people who are watching this want 10 episode seasons, let's do it. And it was a big success. Like, maybe to some degree that's happening with horror movies, and we don't even realize it. We're just seeing the effects of it, where like the stuff that's absolute garbage is now just being like sort of excised, or like get handed off to like the companies where you're never going to see its release no matter what, because we're so distracted by these like digital mediums and stuff.
I mean, the big shift in media altogether is everybody's staying home and watching Netflix or watching streaming stuff, and it's mostly everybody's into the whole binge watching shows, and it's all about TV shows, and TV is like the strongest thing right now. That's why they're getting A-listers doing TV, whereas years ago they wouldn't be caught dead doing that, but they realized that movies aren't paying anything because movies aren't making anything except for a few massive budget movies, and even sometimes they don't make money, so they have to act and make money and work for a living. So TV is where it's at right now, and that's the trend. And that's why even horror, like, you'll see horror TV shows. I'm not going to mention those, but you know what I mean? You're going to see a lot more of them now succeeding because people are just not going to the movies anymore, and theater chains and all that are starting to shit themselves because they're like, hey, we put in recliners. Hey, they tried the 3D thing, for a while, and then it's just not working. So
Yeah, and I mean, of course, that's affected like modern blockbusters more than it affects horrors.
oh yeah, well I mean,
Because now you only get like the tentpole movies, and like entire genres do not have many releases.
well,
You know,
Don't Breathe had a huge release, and
yeah,
there are Darkness did, Lights Out had a big release. A lot of these
right.
movies
But
did
these
have.
are also the spreadsheet movies that are
Right.
just like House of Cards is determined to be successful because these ones are like focused demographically to the point that it's going to make money. We know that this movie is going to make at least such and such an amount of money, and if they waver from that formula too much, they're taking a huge risk because you're making a movie that could make way less money or way more. Look at like the Blair Witch. The Blair Witch theoretically could have made like $100 million, and instead it made 16. Whereas if it was a Blumhouse movie, guaranteed it would have made 40. But just because all the fucking Blumhouse movies make at least 40 million, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where they know that they're going to get a return between like 40 and 60 million for every movie, and they craft everything to be like you're going to spend about 5 on it, you're going to make about 30 or 40 on it, and you're good, then we'll make a sequel. And if it doesn't do that well, okay, maybe the sequel will just go direct to DVD, Netflix, and Walmart and all that. And to make a movie that's not in the vein of what they're making right now, sometimes it will be a huge hit, like Don't Breathe, and sometimes it'll be a huge failure, like Blair Witch. Blair Witch wasn't a huge failure, but I mean,
But it was a failure enough where they're not going to make any more of them, which the plan was to do that.
right?
And I watched the commentary on that, and it was really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Wingard and Simon Barrett, they're just in rare form and are not bitter. Well, they're bitter, but at the end of it, they're like, "Yeah, we're not going to talk about that because who gives a fuck? Because we're not going to make any more of these." So they had like all these things hidden throughout the movie.
Yeah.
But oh well.
Right. I mean, it kind of sucks that, it kind of sucks both that it wasn't a bigger success, but also that it wasn't just a better movie.
Right,
like,
right. I mean,
no matter
in a sense,
what.
yeah, it boils down to you could plan whatever the hell you want, but the movie itself has to be better than serviceable.
Mm-hmm.
And not that, anybody's opinion matters really, because, there are some people that probably saw it and are like, this is the best horror movie I saw all year. So, I mean, but when the masses are just like, yeah, this is okay. Whatever.
Mm-hmm. Right, and it's about people being harder to impress to a certain degree.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Yes.
We're harder to impress too. But if you want to impress us, I'm going to say follow us on Twitter at Jack Nick Show. I'm at New Jersey Nick on Twitter. Jack, what are you?
I'm an asshole.
No, at Jacob K666 was the answer.
Oh, yes, I am.
So you can follow both of us. We have the episodes coming out on YouTube pretty much day and date in line with the podcast now. I know if that's a little bit easier for you to listen to, you can do it there. I don't know if you know, Jack, but I'm actually wrapping up the show. Did you have anything to add before we actually do that?
You're wrapping the show up. Why?
Yeah. Do we have a lot more to do?
No. Just kidding.
It's nearly both of our bedtime because we're old men.
Yeah, we're old and cranky.
So, yeah. I listen to our show on YouTube, though, at work because then I don't have to use the data on my phone, and I can just, stream it in the background while I'm working. It's pretty cool.
I don't listen to myself anymore.
No?
No.
You should. We're great.
And there go about 10 more listeners.
Right. These guys have huge egos.
Yeah, they have a big ego. I'm going to go on iTunes and complain about it while I have
please.
my own crappy podcast.
Yes, if you could, go on iTunes and complain about us in the review section. If you need to contact us, normally Twitter or Facebook message will do. So that's pretty much it.
I don't
Jack,
know the whole story. Why? I don't know what really happened. Why? Sorry.
What do you want to tell people that we might review this year? Any movies to
I don't think we're
look forward
reviewing
to?
shit this year. How's that? We ain't reviewing a fucking thing. This show is just gonna be what we call it, the Jack and Nick Horror Show.
Right.
Jack and Nick talk about horror shit.
You know what movie I might see next week?
What's that?
Resident Evil Part 6. And maybe I'll record about it by myself because I know there's no way I could
I'm not gonna go see it. I saw all the other ones, but I'm not gonna go see it. I'll see it eventually.
Unless it's really good, then I'll be like, Jack, you got to see this movie. But we both know that's not going to happen. That's not going to be that way with this movie.
If the last one is any indication of where this one's going, yeah.
What? Sorry, I don't care enough about Resident Evil to even talk about it that much more.
Yeah,
that's not true because I might. Hey, maybe if I see it and Jack doesn't want to, and Jack can't record next week, I might do a solo episode. Probably not. So don't get your hopes up.
Don't get your hopes up. However, can you please let us know if you cry at the end of it since it's over and you're never going to get any more Resident Evil movies from Paul Thomas Anderson or P.T. Anderson or whoever the hell he is. Or because I know that they're going to reboot the Resident Evil franchise.
Actually, a reboot could be really good if they take it and they just make it about a haunted mansion full of zombies. I'll still watch that fucking movie.
Not gonna happen.
God damn it!
They're gonna fuck it up again. This time it'll be about dogs.
Yeah, I know. I've played the video games, and the video games have been horrible, but the new one looks really good. So,
it'll be Hotel for Zombies. That's what you're gonna get.
That'll be the subtitle. Resident Evil Hotel. And people will be online, but why is it in a hotel? You can't be a resident of a hotel. And then there will be an even nerdier guy behind them who's like, actually, the title when it was released in Japan was BioShock. So you're not a resident of anything.
And the Residents are my favorite band.
Oh my God. The sad part is I actually knew that fact, so possibly I'm the guy. I'm the nerdier guy in that example.
Yeah, see?
In quotes.
Thanks,
everybody.
Nick, what you need to stop doing is you need to stop talking about that shit and start making movies. That's what you need.
Yeah, right. Oh, my God. So.
Hey, we're done.
Everybody go home.
All right.
Thanks for listening.